those were the gunshots you heard during yesterday's Old National Bank shooting in downtown Louisville.
WDRB's Dalton Godbey, he was one of the first to arrive at the scene. The shooting happened at 8:30. Dalton, what time did you get to the scene, and tell us what you experienced?
Well, I'll go back to when I got to work, and I was just telling you guys, it's been a long time, months, since I have arrived at work before 8:50. And
because you're supposed to be here at 9.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Usually don't get here all that early. Yesterday, for whatever reason, I walk in the door and it's 8:30, and that was the exact moment when it came over the police scanner. Our team, all the credit in the world to them for getting us out the door right then and there. We were on the scene at 8:45, and the chaos that ensued there in that block and in the surrounding blocks was something that I have never seen ever on any sort of scene before in my career. Really chilling to think back on the response from police, from first responders, and all the law enforcement agencies that were involved. When we were leaving the station, every street, every direction that you looked in, you saw police cars flying through stoplights, civilian cars getting over to let them through. I mean, there were probably, I want to say, a dozen cars that sped past us, police vehicles, getting to that scene. So that kind of paints the picture of the response that we have heard so much about from LMPD. Just very quick, and there were a whole lot of people who got to that scene in a timely manner.
You know, we didn't know very much for a long time. So for those of us who work in news, we knew, first of all, that if they haven't said anything, it's pretty bad. And when we saw the number, I don't know that I have ever in the city of Louisville seen that many emergency and police vehicles on one scene, because it wasn't, you were down, was it Preston Street?
Yes, Preston Street, looking at Main Street where the bank is.
You probably could have counted, what, 20 cars just on that section of Preston?
More than that.
And then on this section of Main, and this section of Main, and then down Preston. The response was unbelievable, and all those people were there, I guess, before you even got there, for the most part?
Yeah, most of them were. I mean, when we got there, I would say there were close to 100 first responders already on scene. And you see the intersection there, that's Preston and Main, and you're talking about 2 to 3 blocks behind that, just completely covered with police vehicles, whether they be LMPD, Jefferson County Sheriff, KSP, federal agencies, all right there in those couple of blocks, and that really just shows the response. And we knew when we arrived, even though we didn't know much at the time, we knew, okay, this is serious.
What was reported, at least.
And something is going on here. Of course, we got on the air as quickly as we could. I believe, Sterling, you said that was sometime in the 9 o'clock hour. And as you mentioned, Candace, we have to be very careful about what we report. There was obviously a lot going on social media, rumors that were swirling around, some of them which probably seemed to be true at the time when we got there, but it's our duty to bring you the facts, and that's what we tried to do, just to show our viewers the scene, tell them what was going on, and then wait to get information and actively try to get information from those who could confirm what was happening.
Dalton, I'll be honest with you. I was concerned for you going into that situation. You talked about being on Preston Street, pretty close to the scene where the shooting happened. Did police stop you from getting any closer, or did you just stop for your own safety and said, you know what, we don't have enough information here, we don't feel safe, we're going to get out of our car and figure out what's going on?
So to my knowledge, we were the first TV station that was on the scene there. And they had not set up any sort of media area, media staging area at that point in time. Photojournalist Zach Crabtree was with me, and we had talked on the way about, okay, this is clearly serious because there are police vehicles flying by us left and right. So what do we need to do to protect ourselves? What's the best approach going into this scene? We talked about we would get as close as we could, and while we felt safe. But if there was ever any point in time that either one of us felt like we were in danger, we would pull back. When we arrived there, we came down Market Street which is a block behind Main, and it's connected by Preston Street. So as we came down Market, they were actively setting up the police perimeter. We got a little bit closer and we talked to the officer there setting up the perimeter, who told us, hey, this is probably as far as you guys need to go. I think they're working on setting up a media perimeter, or a media staging area, excuse me. So we decided to stay there. I will say, never at any point yesterday morning did I feel like I was in danger. There were certainly a lot of unknowns that seemed a little bit scary, but I never felt that I was in danger at all. So that's credit to our WDRB team and making us feel comfortable and trusting us to make the decision of where we needed to go to feel safe.
When you were, how long did you stay there after we went off the air, and were you able to talk to people in the area? What were they saying? What were their emotions, the people who were right there and experienced it?
We stayed there the entire day.
Okay.
They ended up extending that perimeter another probably half of a block up through through Market Street. We stayed there because it was a good look at the bank and kind of the scene and the perimeter of what was going on. But the police actually only allowed our crew to stay inside of that, and they pushed everybody else back a half a block. So credit to the officers who allowed us to stay a little bit closer after they had secured the scene. But we were there all day, and I would say close to 10 o'clock or so. I can't remember if it was still when we were on the air with you guys, but there was an employee of Old National Bank who had came over to that perimeter where we were set up, and you could just see that he was overcome with emotion, crying. The shock was written all over his face. He met two of his friends or family members, I'm not sure which, there on the other side of the police perimeter, and just an immediate embrace that lasted minutes, it seemed like. All of them were emotional, and you could tell just by looking at them that this man had witnessed something very horrific and very tragic, and by that time we knew what had happened there at the bank. And I walked over to that man and asked if he was okay. He said yes, but he was obviously visibly shaken, and as I asked another question, he and his friends asked that I give him some space, and I respected that decision. And understandably, I wouldn't want to talk to anybody either if I had witnessed something like that. But I think that really put in perspective to me how serious this must have been and how impactful it was going to be, especially for those who were directly involved.
Yeah, you saw it in his eyes. Fear and terror.
You said it.
Yeah.
All right, Dalton, thank you.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it today.
Thank you, guys.